Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. Today we begin the home stretch of this first Grand Arena Championship, and that means that we're in a fully new group, and we've got a lot of really interesting things like relics to talk about. But first, I want to say thank you guys so much. I realize that 200 subscribers isn't a huge number in terms of overall like YouTube content creators and everything, but this is a huge milestone for me. 200 is such a big number compared to what I ever thought this would grow into, so thank you guys so much. In return for your excellent support for this channel, I think I'm going to do something called a belligerence video, and stay tuned for that. I'm a little bit excited for that. So anyways, moving on, we've got relics in this new last week of Grand Arena Championship, and oh man, it really changes the matchups quite a bit. My opponent had this abomination as his arena team with all these relic 7s and 5s and big numbers that are bigger than 1, and that's really not my very favorite thing. If you look at the matchup, I am grossly outdone by my opponent's relics, and I was a little bit intimidated going into this match, if we're being honest. If you look at their total gear, they also have me outdone in every single category. The only thing I have an advantage in at all are the number of Zetas, which I have 21 more than my opponent, which seems like that would be a lot. It ended up not being as big of a deal, but we'll move on from that. And the only other thing that I had the advantage on was my Darth Revan team was faster than my opponent's, but as you can see in their arena team, they really didn't care about having a really fast and good Darth Revan team. So moving into this match, I really wasn't sure what to expect. My opponent had a lot of really good teams available. They had way more geared characters than I did and way more relics, and I really wasn't sure what I was getting into, and their defensive teams were really solid. At the first sight, I was not really that excited to face anything that my opponent brought to the table, but I've had this match to go with, so I went with it. One thing that I will note is that I do a fair amount of failing in this episode, and I hope that you'll learn with me. I invite you to learn with me. So the first battle I chose was against Jango with Nest in it, and I took my standard Imperial Troopers team, and this was a little bit of a mistake, as you'll see in a little bit. I think that I could do pretty well with Imperial Troopers. I just need to modify the team a little bit and add someone with tenacity down, because this Nest has 150 tenacity and my highest potency is somewhere in like the 60s, which means that I'm never going to land anything unless I land that, like, it's like a 15% chance or something that something goes through. And so the deal is with Nest, she really does well against troopers because she has days, and she also counters. And I actually going into this match thought, mistakenly, but I thought that my troopers team had tenacity down somewhere on them, and so I was a little bit disappointed to find that that was actually not true. And I'm going to speed this match up because it goes for a while. Shooting Nest is kind of a fruitless endeavor, and she's just countering and doing all kinds of filthy things to my team, and it's kind of a frustrating situation because I thought that I would be able to just take her out, and really what I should have done is just put Krennic. I have a Gear 12 Krennic that I never ever use for anything. I should put him in with instead of the Snow Trooper and get tenacity down on Nest. Once that happens, then Death Trooper. I call him Dark Trooper for my 5-year-old because I don't like to hear him say death. That's ridiculous, but that's true. And so I really should have just put Krennic in there, gotten tenacity down. Death Trooper has days, and she wouldn't have had any counters back, and then I could have just slowly. I could have stunned her. I could have done all kinds of things. So then I took Phoenix in, thinking, oh, okay, well, I'll mop this up easy enough. I'll even get an understrength win. And then I crashed. And I've never done that before. And the footage you saw was as far as I got. So I was really pretty tilted by that. That wasn't my favorite thing. So what I ended up doing, I decided to go in on this matchup here with Darth Revan against Darth Revan and just try to cool off a little bit. And I should have actually given the match some more thought. One thing I did notice right away, before the match even, was that my opponent hadn't put Malak in this squad. And I probably should have given the match a little more thought, given that they didn't have Malak, that it was going to be a little easier of a match, and it was going to be different. So I needed to just think about it a little more than I did. I jumped in, only got 55 banners, but that's what happens when you're tilted. And I used to play cards quite a bit. I made quite a bit of money doing it, playing poker, and the thing you want to avoid at all costs is when you go on tilt, you want to stop playing and just focus on something else, clear your mind a little bit, and that is absolutely not what I was doing here. That is a lesson that every gamer needs to learn. Any person could benefit from that, because life will tilt you. That just happens. So that's something that if anything you guys can learn in this video, keep in mind, like, if you lose something and it's upsetting you and you're like physically upset, maybe just take a little breather. Like just even 5 minutes is going to help you, or an hour, something. Just take a little break, clear your mind, and come at it from a new perspective. So here I realized my mistake and was like, oh, maybe I'll just take Krennic here. I decided that things couldn't really get any worse. I'd already lost 2 matches against Nest, which I never ever do. And so I decided to try probe droiding her, and that's really not a bad choice. I mean, I was also going to get an understrength win. Things were going to go well. You can see that I was starting to get some debuffs on her, because this team actually does okay with debuffs because Krennic has tenacity down and all of that. But I did realize after the match that regardless of what the outcome was going to be, like, Nest was still going to do so much damage that if I were to pull off the probe droid blast, that I would end up not actually with many points. And you really want to make sure that you're ending with as many points as you can. So I got 21 points there. 21 is like basically nothing for the match. I could have ended with 30 or something like that. If you use probe droid, I guess you're always going to be -3 regardless, but I probably could have done something a little wiser. But as I said, I was tilted, and I just wanted that team to go away. So away it went, and I was glad that I was able to get rid of that squad without it costing me another meta team. But on the other hand, I mean, if I wanted to have any chance at winning this match, like, I was already down 40 points, really like 45 points, because I cost myself 5 points against the Darth Revan match. So moving on, I did take a little break after this, cleared my head, and I decided that I needed to take out Geonosians with Commander Luke, because I needed Traya to be able to potentially counter a Padme team if it was in the back. And so Commander Luke is actually a great counter for Geonosians, and you can do a lot of good work against them. I had actually put my highest level relics on Han and Chewie, so I was going to do a lot of damage, and this was really kind of overkill for me. Like, I don't think that I ended up with full banners or anything, but I almost wonder if R2 was necessary, or 3PO. I mean, they both play pretty vital roles. And moving into this match, my opponent had a pretty well modded team, so I think it was wise to take the full 5. But this did kind of rob my Jedi Training Rey team of having R2 on it. So going into this match, I knew that I would potentially be disadvantaged going into a match with Jedi Training Rey, and there would be certain things that she would struggle to counter, such as First Order, but 58 banners with Commander Luke against Geonosians is a wonderful result. That's really about as good as you can hope for. I mean, you can hope for 60, and sometimes you might get it, but that's a pretty decent score, in my opinion. So the problem with my opponent having such a transcendent Padme team was I was really afraid of them putting Padme on defense. And I only really had one team left that could probably counter Padme at this point, and that was my Traya squad. However, I didn't really have a squad that would efficiently destroy this clone squad. I needed to save Padme, my own Padme, to counter their Nightsisters, and my Jedi Knight Revan team could maybe, in a pinch, be able to beat Padme, and it could definitely beat Nightsisters. And so, in the end, despite me using Commander Luke to counter the Geonosians, I decided to use Traya against the squad here, the clones, and the clones didn't really have any Zetas on them other than on Barriss and R2, and so it wasn't really that much of a threat. I took 4 characters so that I could get an undersized win. I still needed to get a bunch of those if I wanted to get the final tier of the feat that we're all working on and annoyed with. So I think that Traya is actually a great candidate for being able to undersize her squads. And here I just wanted to make sure that I was putting on some good damage on everyone. If Fives is always going to die to sacrifice himself for one of these clones, and so the closer to the middle that you can get all of them, like the closer to dead you can get all of them, the better, especially because this Fives didn't have the Zeta that made the other clones really strong. So if you could get everyone else kind of low on their health, then you can just like kill one of them and Fives dies, and then kill another one. Like you can just kill them all in close succession. And as it turned out, I got my Annihilate off way earlier than I had anticipated, so I took out Fives first because he was always just going to sacrifice himself anyways, and he's the one with the higher hit points, and Rex already had Isolate on him, so I just figured I'd knock that out first. Now, clones are going to need a boost of some sort if they want to get to the next level. This clones team was not the strongest team I faced so far, and that's not a knock on my opponent, but they did have significantly fewer Zetas than I did. The fact is, though, I could have beat this squad relatively easily even with all of their Zetas. Traya just does such a good job of countering them that it's very similar to why she does such a good job of countering Padme teams. She's just got a lot of tools that she wants to use against them. Whenever they counter, for instance, or whenever they assist each other, they're going to do themselves a lot of damage. And over time, if they're countering a lot, if they're assisting a lot, which clones do, they're really just going to end up killing themselves. And so Traya is right now a hard counter for clones, absolutely. We will see if that continues to be the case once we get another clone character, which the devs have definitely said that we're going to get. They've definitely said that. So anyways, I ended up getting pretty good points here, good banners, and I was really nervous. I was really hoping that my opponent did not have their Padme team in the back here, because if they did, it was going to be a really big slog. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that there were 2 very beatable teams until I noticed that their Malak was with Old Republic. And so I decided to I had 4 different teams that I could use on these 4 different teams in the back, and the teams that were there were not really that scary. The Nightsisters team absolutely deserved my respect. However, they are a really strong team. I looked at my opponent's mods, and they were completely off the wall, crazy offensively modded. They did a ton to their offense, and with all the relics and everything, this was by far going to be the hardest team of Nightsisters that I'd ever faced, and that is accurate. I anticipated that would be the case, but I was not really that thrilled that I would have to face them, and I decided that the possibility was great that my Padme team was not going to be able to beat this, and because they're all just gear 12, and they can kind of struggle. So I decided to take my Jedi Knight Revan team here instead, because I figured my Jedi Knight Revan team was going to win this one, kind of running away, and that then I would have the option to just go and take out the Old Republic plus Malak team with Padme. And you know, I think that that's a pretty good plan. I still think that's a pretty good plan. And so I was able to take out Daka a couple different times, and things were looking okay. They were getting a lot of stuns off, but I was kind of just holding my place here. Nightsisters really just start spinning pretty quick, and one thing I want to point out is that this is a Talzin lead, and so once you start killing guys, their force actually ends up being stronger. Like once I killed Daka off the third time, she kept popping up and stunning people, and that's a really frustrating thing to do, thing to happen, because now you see that Asajj was so she was able to kill a character, and then with the assist, Talzin was able to kill a character, and so Talzin was able to come back. Things were looking pretty grim, and all I had was Jolee left. Thank goodness that I put him to gear 13 and gave him a couple relic levels, because I really needed that. And even still, his health isn't the highest. I was just on the very brink of total collapse here against Nightsisters team with my entire team here. Well, at least the front row that you're looking at is all gear 13 with at least one relic level. And these Nightsisters only have, I think, one relic on each, one level of relic. So they're strong. They're really going to be a problem moving forward. Like I was very impressed with how strong this team was. And so here you can see I'm killing Zombie. Even though I could have killed Spirit, who is obviously the bigger threat, I decided that I wanted to spend a little bit of time trying to get my protection and health back up to max, and so that's what I did. And then I decided that I wanted to just finish the squad off, just in case they got in some kind of a lucky shot. Spirit can do a ridiculously crazy amount of damage, but I had actually at this point gotten back to full banners, so I got 60 banners, and that score is really not indicative of how scary my opponent's Nightsisters team was. They did a really great job. I'm very impressed. I'm excited to see what my Nightsisters are going to start doing on defense. I am guessing that they'll just get destroyed by relic level 4 Padme teams everywhere. That seems like the team that I keep seeing, so probably I won't even notice that my Nightsisters are strong, but I guess we'll see. So moving into the next match, I decided I needed to take out the Malak team next, because that was really the only credible threat remaining, and I needed to make sure it was dead, and so I took my very best squad available, which was Padme. I actually think that I had a lot of play with First Order against this team, especially because they didn't have any Zetas on them besides Malak, and First Order is a very credible source of destroying Malak if you want to have that as if you want to like finish off Malak. If you have trouble like finishing him off or whatever, you killed the whole Darth Revan team, but you have only Malak. First Order do a great job of beating him. I just decided that I wanted to take Padme, because Padme does absolutely demolish the Old Republic, and they should, in theory, be able to take down Darth Malak as well. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just hitting Old Republic as often as possible so that I'm not getting fear on my guys, and therefore escalating Darth Malak's ability to do his life drain, and so it's all going pretty well here so far. I mean, I'm definitely hitting Malak every once in a while because he does taunt, but being able to just take these guys out and isolate them is pretty good. And I was pretty confident here moving into this final stage. I knew for sure that I would end up finishing, at the very least, I'd be able to finish the Old Republic guys. But the question was, how easily would I be able to take down Malak? And the answer is, it wasn't easy at all. I couldn't land debuffs on him very well at all. You can see, I say that, and then I landed like 4 debuffs on him. But as you see in this match, I'm going to speed it up, because this match goes for most of the length of the time that we had. And really looking at this match in retrospect, I think that I need to remod my guys, because they all have health primary, health everywhere, because of they're trying to abuse Padme's ability to, get protection up on everyone. And in the end, I think that this team really needs 3PO or something to be able to beat Malak. Oh, I don't know if 3PO was absolutely necessary, but I was just not able to land any debuffs, and every time I got him kind of close to dead, he would just heal himself. And even though Anakin has heal immunity on his basic, I just couldn't land it. I couldn't land it worth anything. And even when I did, Malak got rid of it fairly quickly, and I was just back to square one. And so, as you can see, Malak at no point was really that close to dead. He just kind of kept reviving and kept resisting all of my attempts to heal immune him, and I couldn't really even stun him, and it's just a very frustrating set of circumstances. I genuinely thought that I'd be able to take down Malak with my pretty well geared Padme team, and that just wasn't. So the match just kept going, and at this point I was extremely pessimistic. I figured I would not be able to beat Malak, and I ended up being right. I just couldn't do it. And this actually also cost me the feat for being able to get a win with 5 Galactic Republic characters, and it's just very... And so it was that Zareth was smote yet again in this match, and really losing 2 matches in a row to failed attacks, like, it was not looking good for me. I was forced to revise my teams that I could use. I needed to use First Order to take down Malak, or I would just completely fail. I don't think I have another team available at this point that could credibly take him down. And so you can see my methodology here. He does definitely put fear on your guys, but if you can just keep double turn stunning him, and then Kylo Ren does his AoE, which gives my whole turn meter, and it also does not crit. He can't crit on that attack, and so he just continues to be the engine. And so First Order officer keeps shooting Malak when he's stunned, and that is, he's able to not only reduce a little bit of turn meter, he's also able to reduce my cooldowns so that I can just keep stunning Malak until he goes away. And so I got 41 points there, which is, well, actually a +1. I made one up from the fiascos, the various fiascos that I was involved in, and now I was forced to move in with my Jedi Training Rey squad that did not have R2, and that is a really tricky match as well. Luckily, this Qi'ra team did not have Nest on it, and really, I mean, the only thing going for it is got Vander, Chewbacca, and a couple good tanks. But if you can find a way to get past the 2 tanks, which can be tricky at times, if you can find a way to take them out and then take Vander out, then the rest of the team just kind of folds. And So I did take, you see that I took L3 of my own. That's just to kind of replicate the things that R2 does on the team. He gives BB-8 extra turn meter, and BB-8 therefore gives the rest of the team a lot of turn meter with his various moves, or rather move, until he gets Illuminated Destiny. And L3 was also just kind of going to protect the Jedi Training Race Squad. I might have been able to undersize squad this, but I decided I just did not want to risk it because my offensive teams were really growing short. And so as it turned out, that was pretty that was a pretty solid attack. And really, I mean, maybe moving forward, the answer sometimes is putting L3 with Jedi Training Ray and putting R2 with, Commander Luke or someone that he goes well with. He goes well with a lot of teams. So my final match was against a kind of strange Shaak Ti clone Jedi hybrid thing, and really the only full team I had left were Ewoks, and my Ewoks are actually decently modded. I've put a lot of decent speed mods into Paplu, and at first, like, this match was actually looking kind of grim. Like, I was getting stunned. They were hitting me for a lot of damage, and Ewoks weren't really getting started. But after a little bit, they kind of got their feet under them, and then you can watch as the Ewoks take a million turns. You need to take out Shaak Ti first in this match, just because she keeps gaining turn meter every time you hit her. Then she gains, I think, 20% turn meter. Every time you hit another clone, she gains 20% turn meter. So AoEs just feed her turn meter like crazy, and she can do things like Dispel on basic. She can call all the clones to assist. She can buff the clones. She can do all sorts of crazy things. So Shaak Ti is actually going to be a really great character, even if she ends up not being. I really think that Shaak Ti is going to be able to find a place in the meta somewhere, even if she doesn't end up with clones. And even though maybe her lead will end up wasted or something, I just don't really regret having worked on her. I have her gear 12 right now. She will eventually be gear 13, I'm guessing, just depending on when they announce the new character, which I'm getting frustrated that they're not announcing them. But anyways, I've actually had a few interactions here where Ewoks have saved my bacon a little bit. They're actually a pretty decent offensive squad as long as you don't overdo it. And so the thing that I was waiting here for, you don't get to see the satisfaction of me finishing that squad off, because I was originally going to just time the match out and lose that match, forfeit a few banners, and then go in with the Galactic Republic team that was undermanned or undersized, and get a couple feats done. But then I realized I needed a full Galactic Republic team to be able to do that, and then I wouldn't get an undersized squad bonus, and so I just ended up not doing that at all, which was kind of a mistake. I should have taken one or the other, because forfeiting 20 banners to get 80, or forfeiting 20 banners to potentially contribute to like the 300 something banners that you get for undersized squads is absolutely worth it. And because I realized that I couldn't get both at the same time, I just, in frustration, hit the attack button and finished off the last clone, which was not the right move. So this really was clearly not my match. I normally play much better. This is absolutely the worst score that I've gotten for a very long time, and I really hope I never replicate it again. But it just goes to show, like, even if you're pretty well prepared, you're well versed in a lot of different matchups, there are still things that you can work on. And in this case, like, I got tilted. I've started making poor decisions, and it cost me. And I should say, my opponent was great. They even recorded all their matches against me, all their attacks, and if you want to see that video, I am going to link it in the video description. They also have a podcast, just like I have one. So if you want to listen to a podcast about Galaxy of Heroes, listen to mine first, but please listen to theirs as well right afterward, and that will also be linked in the video description. At any rate, I am going to sign off here now. I'm going to go prepare for my next match, and thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Zareth prevails, even when he loses, as horrifically as you've just observed.